Yeah.
Yep.
It is officially.
Thanks, everybody, for coming to the October 27th, 2025 work session. Please rise for the national anthem. Pledge of allegiance, excuse me.
Pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Councilor Dukes, national anthem, please. All right. So Councilor Holt is working and not here, and Councilor Kent is feeling under the weather, so he won't be here, so those are both excused. We'll go on to the committee reports. Parks and Tree Committee, Joan?
All right, I'll do my best. I may throw it over to Vincent here. He was there. He did a lot of talking, I must say. Okay.
You want 5 minutes?
Showboat.
So we had our meeting on the 7th of October. Our next meeting will be November 13th at 09:30. And there were no public comments. And I'm trying to remember this. I think we're losing two of our committee members, so we're going to be in the market for a couple of volunteers. We did not have a quorum, unfortunately, so we were able to talk about things, but weren't able to make any hard decisions on things. We talked about using the new city email, making sure everyone was doing that if they hadn't already done so. And we talked about changing what has always been done, which is that the city council would create a plan and the Parks and Trees Committee would approve it, or not. Probably they approved it. And I think we're talking about having the committee come up with the plan and then having the city council approve it rather than the other way around, which,
So generally, I would charge you with the task, and you guys would
correct,
take that
right.
charge.
And it would be off the city council's shoulders at that point, and they would just see what the committee came up with and approve or change it or whatever.
Okay.
So that seems to be a prudent change.
Well, generally, I would ask you guys before the end of the year, what do you guys want to accomplish next year, and what kind of charge would you like? But I also usually refer to Vincent on that as well. Okay?
Yes. We got an update from Vincent on the budgetary situation about irrigation and tree planting on the 2nd Street area. I'm not sure if the budget included that. You did say it did not, right?
The trees are included.
The trees?
And
Okay.
irrigation.
All right, good, okay. We talked about ways to enhance and promote the Cresswell Parks, and I think that's probably a frequent topic. And there was a plan to include drinking fountains, water bottle refills, bathrooms, or porta potty at the parks, and I think that's one of our goals. We also talked about determining Arbor Day celebration. I don't think we got to that. We talked about it, but
Yeah.
we didn't have the people to do it. The Garden Lake Bridge update we talked about, which depends on the master plan as far as that bridge. So that's remains to be seen, to be determined. A proposed item would be hosting a bike day at the Wayside. And there's all kinds of things that we could do, such as breakfast, and talked about where people would park, probably by Bi-Mart, like we always try and do. We talked about the Garden Lake Pollinator Garden. We've talked about that before. Brick bordered gravel path. I think the Public Works was going to get a cost estimate update. And we're deciding whether to continue some projects or table them. We tabled just about everything because we didn't have
Didn't have a quorum.
a lot of people. Partner with the Historical Society to make interpretation signs for the Garden Lake Park. And it'd be nice to include some Indigenous people's history there as well, which I think would be nice. Disc golf course there to get a par 3. I don't play disc golf, so I don't get it. But anyway, I'm sure it's wonderful. Including a map, a picnic table, and bat signage. I didn't know bats could read.
New to me.
Anyway, so I'm sure there are bats there. I love bats. Park updates, I have nothing written down for that. I don't know if we just didn't do it or
We didn't do
I
it.
was daydreaming.
I'll say we didn't do it.
Okay. So that's what I have, pretty sure. Let's see. Oh, and then we decided, you updated us on the bathroom installation somewhere.
The old
That one?
Second Avenue or Second Street.
Second Street
Oh,
Park.
okay, good, okay. Yeah, yeah.
Splash pad park.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that would be
Robinette
good.
Hughes.
All right, and then we decided on a date for our next meeting. Do you care to embellish?
No, you did phenomenal.
Councilors, any questions or follow-up for Council Morris? No? All right, we'll move on to Airport Commission. Alonzo.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Yes, the Airport Commission, we met on the 15th, and we started off, I'll start off with just the usual updating on the updates on the ongoing projects right now. The ham-based radio station, the equipment has been purchased, and they're actually just waiting for a tenant to move out of one of the hangars. And then they're going to move in there, and then that will actually become the city's home base station. And then that EOC equipment that you guys have been hearing about for a while is some of the equipment has been received, runway crosses, and we're waiting for some aviation barricades to be delivered. And the automatic gate for the north end of the airport is on hold until the north taxi lane project gets underway. And hopefully that will be starting in the spring. And Airport Manager Humble has applied for the 2025, she's applied for 4 grants. Guess how many she got?
4?
4, yeah, pretty good. So, and well, the first one is a match for that north taxi lane project. And the second one is for the critical air support, the AWAS, which is their automated weather observing system, and it's very expensive equipment and so forth, so that those funds will be well spent on that. And then, this another gate, which is on the Dale Cooney side, that's a different gate. And the third grant is for that reconnaissance drone and the Starlink system. You guys recall, we've been talking about that for a while, so that grant is happening. And another gate at the Fire Road, the south side, by the EEA. So all 3 gates will be lumped together to get a better price. And hopefully they'll be able to start those gates going by the spring as well. And the last one is obstruction removal. That's trees on the south end, and those are kind of pending the master plan. The airport, and speaking of the master plan, that's actually, we are under contract with Century West, and that's an 18-month project or process. And then the next few weeks, there will be a SAC group, SAC group. I don't know what that stands for, but they're basically the business people, the community members, and they will be the ones to go over the materials and help shape the vision for the airport.
Strategic Air Command?
Not bad guess.
Yeah, SAC group. And good news, EPUD has brought power from the west side to the airport itself. But the bad news is that Douglas Fastnet decided to pull out of that project, so the airport's not getting high-speed internet. And then we received a quick update from Mike Anderson, who is our school district rep. And he thanked the Eugene Skydivers for Mark, the owner of them, apparently, I missed one of the games, he parachuted onto the field with the football and gave, pretty cool. So big kudos out to Eugene Skydivers for making that happen. And he also reported that a career technical building will be going in, and airplane maintenance and flight will be taught there. And there's actually a class going on right now with 22 students.
Nice.
Yeah, really nice. And then, of course, you've all heard about the autumn day at the airport, which is November 1st. And there's going to be a lot of stuff going on. The library's doing paper airplane contests, and there's going to be a flower bombing and a STOL demonstration, which is like short takeoffs and landings. And LCSO, apparently you guys are having the SWAT vehicle out there.
We're bringing one of our armored vehicles out there.
Okay, yes, thank you so much. And Life Flight's gonna be there, gonna be cornhole, there's gonna be all kinds of fun stuff for family and kids to do. Oh, and the really cool one is, I hope I pronounce this right, the Adantium Chantel, which is a Renaissance group. They're gonna have a catapult, and they're gonna be chunking some pumpkins out there. Yeah. And the scarecrow contest, the duck truck's gonna be there. It's gonna be a good time. And kudos, big thank you to Banner Bank, Crestwell Post Acutes, Stanton Companies, Point S, South Lane Fire and Rescue, and Nathan Marple for donating to help make this happen. And I hope I'm not missing somebody. If I am, I apologize out there. And then last but not least, City Manager Vincent Martorello joined us for our meeting, and he brought us some airport rules and regulations to consider. He brought forth a draft for items such as code of conduct and the complaint process and community engagement. So we looked over the draft and are going to look at it again at our next, we're probably going to try to have a work session prior to January so that we can at least bring the complaint process, seal that up. So you guys will be able to take a look at that, and the council will vote on that. And of course, let's see what else. That was about it. And our next quarterly meeting is going to be January 21. All right, any questions? Manager Humble.
Just for confirmation, it's a PAC meeting, PAC committee, and it's a planning advisory committee.
Okay, thank you. Not SAC, PAC. There you go. Thank you, Manager Humble.
We do without her.
All right, that's it, Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Well, is Curtis up here? I don't see Curtis, so, there he is, okay, it's hiding. Do you have anything to fill in for the Lane Act, since Councilor Kent is not here?
Can I follow up? Sorry, thank you. Is it okay if I follow up with an email after
Yeah.
tonight? Is that all right? Okay, thank you.
Perfect. All right, well, put us towards presentations. Pacific Power Franchise Agreement. Mr. Finance Director Piper.
Thank you, Mayor Smith. City councilors, I'm sure you all had a chance to read through your packet and read that 12-page legal document between the City of Crestwell and Lumen, also known as, Pacific, between Pacific Corp and the City of Crestwell. I'm also working on another franchise agreement, getting the two confused. This one is with our public utility power provider in town, and this took about 18 months to go back and forth between staff and their attorney, our attorney. And I just listed out in the memo the particular points. It gives Pacific Corp the right to operate in the public right of way, and in return, they'll give us 5% of their gross revenues as essentially rent. We call it franchise fees. And the franchise is non-exclusive, so we have other utilities in the city, as you know. It indemnifies the city of any damages that they do while doing their job, so that doesn't fall back on the city. Pacific Corp hold insurance of $5 million, general liability to work in the city. They just asked that we notify them of annexations and notify them when we're commencing any street work. And I think that's a good thing. One of the areas of contention is how many days notice. So As you can see in the contract, we got them down to 90 days notice. So they have to move out of the public right of way when we ask them to. Generally, that's in conjunction with a construction project of our own. And they also may manage the vegetation, and that's to keep tree limbs out of their power lines. Other than that, this is pretty standard, and I'm open for any questions from the council.
Councilors?
I got a couple. First off, how do we determine who gets since we got two power companies here, how do we determine about who gets what? In the annexation or whatever? Because I know like on my street, I have one, literally the street right across from me is a totally different one. So all these annexes, who decides who gets those?
That's a great question. I'd have to go back to our attorney and find out
Okay.
how they figure that out. I don't know if it's a coin flip or if they arm wrestle or if there's some sort of legal precedence there.
And the other thing is 5 million, is that pretty standard for?
Yeah, that's pretty standard. I can understand some concerns about that being maybe
So
low, but that's pretty standard in these contracts.
Okay.
Anyone else? Councilor Castillo?
Just a couple of questions. So who initiated the renewal?
In this case, Pacific Corp initiated the renewal, and it's really in their best interest because if you read through the contract, if they don't pursue, then we have the right to remove their poles. So that they're really on top of this agreement.
Okay. I was just curious because it says it's 10 years unless someone initiates, then it's just an automatic renewal. But they decided, they reached out.
Well, the previous one, I think it ran out of renewals.
Oh, gotcha, okay. And then, I can't find it right now, but if I understood it, are all new lines going to be underground?
That is, my understanding is that all new subdivisions will be
Okay.
underground.
Okay, great.
And if for some reason we do some construction in an older area that requires undergrounding, then they have to comply with that as well.
Okay, good. That's it. That's all I got.
Anybody else? I have a quick question on the percentage. So I know that the normal is 3.5%, but they're giving us 5%. If we move down to the 3.5%, would it impact citizens? Would it lower their rates by any chance?
That wouldn't get passed on to the citizens. As you read in the memo, the Public Utilities Commission requires electric utilities to absorb that 3.5%. Anything above that is passed on to the consumer. It would have an impact to city revenues. Sure.
Versus lowering the bill for constituents?
So wasn't there a part that said that the city's gonna have 3.5 and then they're gonna give back 1.5 to the consumer?
The consumer pays that 1.5%. So if you were to raise it to say 7%, I've seen this in other jurisdictions, if you raise it 7%, then an additional 2%, or essentially 3.5%,
Would go.
goes right on the face of their utility bill, and they call it a city tax, and then we have the phone ringing down here at City Hall.
And I just would reiterate what Mark said earlier, 5 million seems really light, especially on some of the forest fires that have happened allegedly by PP&E in California and some of the other spots. I mean, 5 million seems light for one big pole to go down and start a fire. But if that's standard, I just want to reiterate what Mark said. I think it is pretty light. It's a concern I have, but I feel like this is pretty standard from what we've done in the past. Anyone else? Anybody from the crowd? Bill?
No.
Count on me.
know it's strange, but no.
Yeah, gosh dang it, all right. Okay. Oh, Cliff's got something to
Cliff's
add.
got something to add, all right.
All right.
Yeah, I
It felt too easy, so Stacy's not here to give you a hard time.
Cliff does a lot of-
I gotta find somebody.
I can answer the question for the territories or districting. They're legally bound to whatever districts that they already have. So like EPUD has a district, Lane Electric has a district, PPL has a district. So if you build within those districts, then you get their power.
Okay.
And it's their legal boundaries. I don't know exactly where they are, but I know like the south side of town is mostly PP&L and the north side is mostly EPUD. And there's a little bit of weaving in and out, but it is a legal boundary where they serve.
So if we, to add about that, like say if we did a comparison between the two, can we exclude one over the other? Like, let's say EPUD's rates are cheaper, they're more stable, less blackouts. Is there a way that we can phase in or out an electric company?
I don't think so, but that's not my thing to ask.
Well, just-
That would be pointed more towards.
It would be
Vincent.
nice to know, like, hey, what's the rates compared to other rates? You know, what are the, reliability percentages?
Yeah.
Because I know certain people get more power outages than
I think you're gonna come
others.
back to those districts where they have the legal right to provide power within those districts. And so it would come back to the city, maybe taking them out as a provider for that to happen.
Just looking at like some of these new annexes that are coming in,
Yeah.
that could possibly bring new, a whole compound of new people right inside there.
Yeah, it's actually good to be diverse though.
Yeah.
And have-
More competition, the better.
Yeah.
But PP&L seems to have more blackouts than anybody.
Yeah, well, it's just something to look forward towards the,
Yeah,
if we get a chance to be able to choose what comes in, we definitely want to provide the best service for our residents right there, so.
so that sounds like it'd be on the state, Vincent? Is that more on the state level of districting? I mean,
Yeah,
that brings up a
I-
good question, because I'd rather have EPUD or EWEB in here than
Well, a
PP&L.
lot of it would be, if EPUD was to come in or PPE were to go into there would be a question of whose equipment, who's going to purchase whose equipment, whether they
Okay.
even share it. We can look at the rate study, but since it's more of a territorial piece, that would get into a lot of legal questions.
I agree the competition is best. If you got three, at least they're fighting for it. I just know that when we have had power outages, it seems like the PP&E or PP&L, whatever it is had a lot more than the other two, so I think Mark brings up a good point, so.
So do you want me to follow up with some type of rate study or look into this a little bit more? Is there an action item with this?
With this, I think people really want reliability. Of course, rates are important, but reliability is a little bit more important whenever we're in the middle of winter and your heating goes out,
I'll just add, being on the other side of town, when you have two companies like that, at least the whole town doesn't go dark. You can always go
Yeah.
visit somebody and
I mean,
Come over and shower.
But it's-
It might be in our best interest to have to.
Also, at the same time, if you're able to pick a more reliable, I'm not saying that two's wrong, but we got three, and two are really substantial right there. Now, if we can have an opportunity to pick a more reliable company, someone that can envision the future with it, invest in us, and then also back it up with rates.
I just wasn't sure that.
Yeah, I mean, whatever any resident wants to say what's important to them, that's great. I'm just looking at whenever we're talking, you see on any type of Facebook or anything, it's always about rates, it's always about blackouts. And what better than what we can do is provide the best service to our areas within our power, so.
One of the things that might preclude that, and I would need to look into it, is if their territorial area, their district includes urban growth boundary area, where their area may already be staked out in urban growth areas. So what I'll do is take as an action item, I'll see if we can determine if their district or territories extend beyond the city limits into the urban growth area. That would at least answer the question of what flexibility we may or may not have.
Yeah.
Because if we do expand the urban growth boundary, this will come up again.
Yes.
Right, so, which I think is where you're headed.
Yeah, and again, it's pretty close. I mean, it's odd that on my one street, then there's a First Street, the next street over, literally 4 houses over, is a totally different electric one. And that's in a subdivision that was put up together. you know,
Yeah,
so.
that is strange.
Okay. Cool. Any other questions then? So we're all good. Vincent will look into that, just kind of do a little quick study and see what we can find. All right, thank you, sir, appreciate it. Move on to discussion item A, plan amendment, 2025 economic opportunities analysis. Mr. Thomas.
Good evening, council. So it looks like Caitlin gave me 15 minutes on the agenda. I think I'll take 5 or 10 and then leave it open.
Seems a little heavy. I'll just give a little
Leave it
credit.
open for questions. So tonight, I'm going to present an economic development planning document, and it's called an economic opportunities analysis. And so I'm going to just go over what exactly that document is, and then I want to share some of the key findings that we discovered, and then leave it open for questions. And so the economic opportunities analysis, and it's called an EOA, so I'm just going to refer to it as that since it's shorter. It's comprised of 2 parts. One is a quantitative analysis, and one is a qualitative analysis. And so the quantitative portion of the EOA is what's called a buildable lands inventory. And so we use GIS mapping data to take an inventory of all of our commercial and industrial lands. We look at which ones are built on and which ones are vacant or partially vacant. And then we project 20 years of Crestwell population and employment growth. And so the question is, does Crestwell have enough land to have capacity for the next 20 years? And then the next part of the EOA is the qualitative portion. And so that goes through a few different processes. We sent out a survey to our residents. We had a couple of open houses over at the community center last summer. We set up a technical advisory committee that was comprised of 7 Crestwellians, 2 business owners, a Chamber of Commerce member, 2 planning commissioners, and our very own public works director. And then we presented, so the qualitative part was to kind of add some color to the quantitative part. It's one thing to say Crestwell has 20 acres of land, but there's more to that. There's a story to tell, and that's kind of what we're trying to get into. And so we identified some of the comparative advantages, disadvantages, try to identify target industries and services, and then eventually took the plan to Planning Commission in April, in August, and October. And in the October meeting, the Planning Commission recommended approval of the plan, as well as the comprehensive plan amendments that come with the EOA. And so the comp plan amendments are around 3 general categories. There's the land capacity analysis, there's the infrastructure, economic development section, and then there's the third set of goals, which are more based on just entrepreneurship. So I'm going to pause there. Are there any questions of what is this document? Why do we have it? Okay, thank you. All right, so now the fun stuff. So this document will replace a 20-year-old plan. So the last EOA we had was in 2005. And so a main purpose of this plan is to let's set the stage. Where are we in Crestwell in 2025? And so one of the key findings is that Crestwell does in fact have the land capacity to serve Crestwell for the next 20 years in terms of employment growth. We have a surplus of 9 acres of commercial land and a surplus of 50 acres of industrial land. And so that's important because if City Council is reviewing a zone change and somebody wants to have a zone change from industrial to commercial, we can say, well, there's 50 acres of industrial land and we only have a 9-acre surplus of commercial, perhaps the zone change is worth considering. There's more criteria than just that, but that's kind of a basic test for a zone change. So the second big finding is the connection of economic development to our own water supply. And so if we continue at our current growth pattern, our water supply has enough for about 10,000 residents. And that can change if we attract a major water user. So if we attract a brewery, for example, or a food processing facility, those use up a lot of water. And so when we were in some of our technical advisory committee meetings, we were trying to figure out our target industries. And food manufacturing, fruit processing kind of came up as maybe that's a good industry for Crestwell. We're surrounded by farmlands. Manufacturing and all types, those are typically high-paying jobs. Typically, we can hire local people with a manufacturing job. Food processing sounds like a great opportunity, but food processing also uses a lot of water. And I'm kind of making this up, but if a food processing facility uses up 1,000 residential units, perhaps that's not in Crestwell's best interest. So this plan is kind of suggesting that a water management plan may be somewhere in Crestwell's future. And so the third finding is this emphasis on our urban renewal tool. And the urban renewal tool can make our industrial parcels shovel-ready. And that's important. So going back, in the 2005 analysis, it said that we had a surplus of 41 acres of commercial property, and now we have 9. So that tells me that we've kind of slowly eaten away at our commercial land. And I bet in the next iteration of this EOA, we'll have a deficit, and so we'll look for more land elsewhere. In the 2005 plan, it said that we had a 58-acre surplus of industrial land, and now we have a 50-acre surplus of industrial land. And the categorical difference between our commercial and industrial properties is our commercial properties are all shovel-ready and industrial parcels are not. It takes major infrastructure investments for industrial properties to be brought online. And so a few years ago, a previous city council set up an urban renewal district with this goal in mind. And so urban renewal, what it does is it collects money based on increased property taxes in a district boundary, and eventually we can spend that collected tax money on infrastructure with the idea of seeing a positive return on investment. And so kind of from this, our I think marching orders are how do we move these industrial sites along. So the next step could be to perform some engineering on all these sites and just get a fine-tooth and nail idea of what do these infrastructure costs really look like, where will the road alignments be, and also what type of industry do we need to attract to these parcels to make that return of investment. And so that way, a couple years from now or whenever it is, a city council can make a investment on a property, call it a $3 million investment on the property, and when the question comes up of why did city council spend $3 million, it's like, well, because it will make $4 million over the next 10 years. That's a $1 million return on investment. That's a good financial decision for the city. So I'm going to pause there again. Are there any questions on the land capacity piece, the water supply, or urban renewal as a tool?
Are these acres all together? Like if they got 49 acres, just one plot?
There are 2 plots. Yeah, one's the former Bald Knob site,
Okay.
yeah, south of TJ's, and then on 99 on the north end of town.
All right.
Yeah, that's the map. Yeah. Well, that's my presentation.
Question.
Yes.
What's going on with the Tyson property? Does anyone know?
People know. I'm not one of them.
Okay. The chickens know?
Yeah, they are changing hands, and that should be public in December.
Okay.
That's the last
I heard
information.
it was pending, so I don't know.
Yeah.
It's been pending forever.
Is there an intent to do anything with that property that you know of?
Not from the city's perspective, other than it's a candidate for urban growth boundary inclusion.
Because I get a lot of questions with that, and that's usually what I say, well, we're hoping to build.
Mhm.
Does it need abatement of any sort?
It's been flagged as a tear down, and that was supposedly included in the listing price.
They haven't contaminated the water table or anything that we know of?
A environmental assessment is most likely required.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
For them, yeah.
The city doesn't own that property.
Well, in your presentation, you kind of mentioned a review of the EOA on the industrial. What would that cost? Was that your hypothetical $3 million cost, or is that something separate of, like you had mentioned, where let's review and spend some money, you know, administratively to review what it would take to put improvements? Do you have an idea, or is that the $3 million?
To serve Bald Knob, it's about $6 million.
Because that's 30 acres, right? The Bald Knob Mill, is it right around roughly 30 acres?
Yeah, 30.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's also a piece of property that's just to the south of Bald Knob that could also be online. There's floodplain, wetlands, so
Is that the one behind, I guess it would be behind TJ's and McDonald's, that property right there?
yeah, and then it extends even for, you know where South Mill Street and South Front Street connect?
Yeah.
It goes even further south from there, yeah. So it's a big piece of property,
Yeah,
but the access is substandard.
yeah. Anyone else?
Yeah. So, to get this whole thing started, is the city of Crystal gonna have to build roads first before they start selling into this property and getting commercials in here?
The next step is to perform the advanced engineering, perform and finish up a refinement plan with the property owner, and just get a little bit better idea of how will the plot be subdivided and more like an industrial subdivision. We'll have to come to some sort of agreement as to what uses will we allow, but it does seem like the infrastructure comes first and then development comes second. But ideally we can shorten that time span as much as possible. Because I mean, a terrible outcome would be if the city invests a large sum of money in infrastructure and then it sits vacant for 20 years, and that happens, and that's a bad outcome. A positive outcome is that we see development and we collect property taxes and produce jobs and things like that.
With the nine acres of commercial and the 50 industrial, how many owners is combined in that number?
Industrial,
Because I know Bald Knob's about 30, and then what are the other ones?
in terms of ownership groups?
Yeah,
there's-
basically, yeah, or representation for each kind of plot of land, so we know. It gives me a good idea if you say, hey, we got 50 acres industrial and 9 commercial, but there's 15 different owners. Seems like that's a lot more cost and more investment to try and turn those into something versus if there's 3 owners and 59 acres, then, you know, hey, we got some we can start cooking with.
For industrial, there are 3 ownership groups, and one of the ownership groups, there's a couple, and I think the husband died recently, so I believe that they're selling, so we might have 2 ownership groups. And for commercial, it's a little bit more split up. 20, maybe?
Let's focus on industrial.
Yeah.
Industrial would be nice to get some serious manufacturing down here.
Yeah.
And I know one of the owners, and I know how he's willing to work with the city, so that's good news.
Good.
Anyone else? Anybody in the crowd got any questions? Okay. So are we gonna have something for us to vote on moving forward on this, or?
Yes, so the next meeting, we'll have a public hearing for the adoption of the document, the EOA, as well as the comprehensive plan goal amendments.
Okay, so to be clear on that, I'm for that. Do we start to review now? How much investment is that gonna take, if any, to go, if the council approves this? How much are we looking at to move forward with reviewing that?
Vincent, could you maybe help me here? In terms of the advanced engineering and.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like, you know, when we brought up the bridge for Garden Lake Park, I mean, right off the bat, do we want to approve this and then spend 25 grand to build a bridge? I didn't want to, but it went through. So that's kind of what I'm asking is, I agree with the plan that we need to do this.
Yeah.
But I want to agree with the plan and see, I would like to know dollar-wise so I can explain it to citizens when they ask.
So we don't have a specific number yet. We have reached out to the property owner of Bald Knob and talked about the logic of combining the city's effort with regard to Garden Lake, his effort with regard to his interest in his property. So we may do a cost sharing of a larger regional, and I'm following up with him in another week or so.
Okay.
But if we're looking for engineering designs, either master plan, typically you're in the $50,000 to $70,000 range for a master plan. Engineering drawings, depending on the complexity, that could be $100,000, $150,000.
So at least if we get a master plan going, we're investing some money, but we'll have a general idea of what we're trying to do and accomplish, not just kind of say, yeah, let's do this, start throwing money at it.
Yes.
And getting engineer costs and throwing money at engineers who are very well paid. And
Yeah, the first step would be a master plan, and in that master plan, you can specifically request a cost opinion of probable cost.
Okay.
And they would look at schematically what you're thinking about. It would be a higher level.
Sure.
But that would at least give us a ballpark that the next phase will cost X amount. So that would be probably with any of these properties, the route to take is a master plan. So we identify the uses that would be good for Crestwell. We get partnership with the property owner, and that, I think, creates momentum.
excellent, okay, perfect, that's what I wanted to know. Then I feel like we do need to invest, we gotta invest something, and to get any return back, no risk, no reward, so, perfect, that's, anyone else? Thank you, Curtis.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to B, and the flock live demonstration from Sergeant Spildress. I really thought there'd be a lot more people here. I saw the agenda, so hopefully they're watching online.
Do you need sound?
No, I don't need sound. I'm gonna connect my computer so I can show you. And then in the crowd over there, there's Captain DJ Mann and Sheriff Carl Wilkerson as well, so they might be able to answer some questions if there's questions. How do we put it up there? Can you show me?
I got that.
Yeah, sure.
All right. So I figured we can just kind of run through what it looks like and what it's capable of searching, what it's not capable of searching, and what that looks like. So to start off, this is basically the page where we would enter, our reason for why we're searching for something, whether it's a missing person, person crime, property crime. The suspicious vehicle one's not a field that we're really using, and then training. So today, we're training. We can search by license plate, by state, if we have a specific state, or we can do what's called the vehicle fingerprint search. And that would be like, I'm looking for a minivan. And I know that that minivan is white. And then if I want to get more specific, I can go down here where I can decide the model. So let's say I think it's what's a common minivan? Toyotas?
There you
I can scroll down that. Okay. So Toyota minivans. And then this vehicle identifiers field is specific things like top rack, back rack, bumper stickers, window stickers, toolboxes, that type of thing. So since we don't have any cameras right now that are active in our area, I'm going to use another area that I have access to show you. We don't have our cameras up. And we'll specifically say, let's go with Albany, Oregon. So if I apply that and I want to search for any camera that's connected to Albany or Oregon, and we'll just do for the last 24 hours, we're looking for that specific vehicle. I forgot to hit save though, so that's my fault. So a white Toyota minivan. We'll search, and this is what would show up. And I can go through, I can look at, the license plate. I can look at the license plate on the car. You see that this caught the vehicle twice and detected it. That's the actual license plate that's on there. Shows me the time, and then it shows me the intersection. So it looks like maybe Albany only has one camera right now, but you can see if I click Ellsworth and First is where that one's at. Well, I don't know where that is. And it'll show me that's where that camera's at. Okay, so we can go back, and now that, let's say, well, I'm gonna pick a camera that, or an area that maybe has more cameras than that. So I thought Albany would have more than one camera. So like, let's say Douglas County. Okay, so now I've got more than one camera to look at. I've got my Ellsworth camera from Albany because I didn't unselect that, but then I've got these Garden Valley cameras, which I believe is Roseburg. I don't know where East Happy Valley Road is on Highway 99, but somewhere in Douglas County. But you can see this is generally the photo, they're all pretty consistent. And so that's what we can expect to pick up on flock cameras, is that same angle. Now, if I am specifically looking for, I'm gonna just pick this license plate, this 724JXR. I have no idea who that is. But let's say that's my vehicle that I'm interested in for the last, we'll say, 7 days. And I'm really interested in this, so I want to find any network I have. You'll see it's a little different view when I'm looking for a specific vehicle, right? But I can go through all of these and I can see where this vehicle's been. No idea who this person is. Could go through this and say, okay, well, this vehicle was, moving this direction generally based on where the cameras hit at the certain times. This is incredibly useful tool if this were a vehicle that we were looking for, that we're leaving, the scene of a crime or a town, or it was an elderly person that, got in their vehicle and drove away. We could at least have a path to track. And admittedly, I'm not like a super expert on this. I've played with this program quite a bit, but it will actually show you kind of the journey of where that vehicle is. It's popping through really fast. There you go. So if on the 27th we want to look to see where this car is, it will compile those for us to be able to look at very quickly, to be able to process that information to try to determine basically a direction of travel if it was caught on more than one camera. We could say, it would basically map that out for us if we needed it to say that it started at point A, went to point B, went to point C, it's headed that direction, by being able to click through that simply. It's a very, very, very simple program for us to use. I'm happy if anybody has anything they want me to specifically show. This is literally the whole search screen though that we use. if anybody has anything they want me to show, I can explore different things and show you different things. Generally, all the flock cameras are configured to look the same direction. Flock configures in that way on purpose to catch the rear plate. Most vehicles, if they only have one license plate, it's on the rear of the vehicle. And that's one of the reasons why they do that. We talked about it briefly before, they're not trying to catch who the driver is or any of that. I'd imagine it probably at some point could happen, but the cameras are not angled to catch who's driving the vehicle.
I got a scenario for you.
Okay.
See if it's stupid or not.
No, that's
So
okay.
my car gets stolen in the middle of the night,
Mhm.
and it goes and commits a crime.
Mhm.
And my wife and kids are gone. It's just me. I got the house free to myself.
No alibi.
Yeah, no alibi. I'm not a sheriff. You are. So, what would happen? I mean, what would happen then if it caught my truck somewhere, and then I have no alibi?
Well, it would be the same thing as if there was an eyewitness that said this truck pulled up, this was the license plate. We would have to determine who was actually using the vehicle. That's step one, right? And then work through it as any other problem. Just because it's caught on a camera doesn't mean that we can say, hey, this is our guy, this is our driver.
Okay.
We still have to go through our investigative steps to determine that. There's plenty of times where, another example, I guess, of where we run into this a lot. We have a vehicle, we try to stop a car, it eludes us, we terminate the pursuit. Logical step, contact the registered owner. Registered owner says, I have no idea what you're talking about. Wasn't me driving, I'm not gonna tell you who was driving. What do? We can't prove it's him driving, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, if we see your truck while we're investigating this and stop it, we might have some stuff to work out, right? But
Fair enough. But, so, like I was leaning towards too, to benefit you guys, you can't see the driver on the camera.
generally,
There is
no.
no facial recognition available on on the flock cameras. I know there's a concern that there could be, there might be. I know that the dingbat politicians up in Salem complained that, there was algorithms that you could easily manipulate, but what does he know? I'm not impressed, so, but I'm gonna bring it up anyway.
Well, and I'd be lying to you if I said that these cameras are not gonna catch somebody's face. It could happen. I don't know. I've seen the cameras where, maybe they're picking up the white minivan, but there's a vehicle going the opposite direction, and maybe you can make out who's driving the vehicle. Last meeting, when I brought in the photos of me driving my work truck around,
We definitely can see you.
yeah, and I'm a big guy, and I wear a big uniform, and you couldn't tell. So if that's out there, I don't think it's
So
much of a thing.
for everybody listening and who might not be here, and counselors, if you got anything, please speak up. I don't want to take up the whole time, but, so Flock owns, you guys buy the cameras. Flock has the intellectual property ownership, but they install them, we own them, and they control all the data.
It's more, they own the camera, it's our data.
Okay,
Yeah, we might be, depending on, like, some of the utilities, some of the utility companies, for us to put a camera up might require us to own it, and we'll talk with Flock and see if they will let us own it. to
Okay.
Streamline it, but generally, Flock owns the
so we
camera.
own, you guys own the
We definitely
data.
own the data.
The Flock keeps the cameras.
We decide who gets access to that data.
Okay. Now, how is that data controlled? Because, the concern I get is Big Brother's watching, all that other stuff, lots of emails, lots of comments, I get all that. But, I know Sergeant Spell just told me it's a 30-day deal, but who controls that, and what's fail-safe do the citizens have?
Do you mind, Mr. Mayor?
No, please. Feel free. This is a work session, this is not as formal as a normal council session.
So I think that, I'm Carl Wilkerson, I'm Sheriff.
Congratulations, by the way.
Thank you. Hell of an umpire right there, just so you know. I just want to let the community know that I'm here because this is my community. I have been part of this community since 1979. I went to school here, I've always lived here, this is home. So I wanted to make sure that specifically this council had the opportunity to ask me the question. So to answer your question about how do we stop things, I'm going to just go backwards for a second and give you a little bit more information about the Sheriff's Office, and that is we have a CAD, or a computer automated dispatch system, We have a records management system. We have a jail management system. These are all databases that control a ton of information that has a lot more personal information than these. They're all private vendors, and they're national companies. And the reason why I point that out is if we were concerned about the information that may be snatched out of Flock, I'd be a heck of a lot more concerned about these other vendors, because that has so much more information, private information, that can be used way worse on our citizens. And the thing is a company's not gonna be able to stay in business and have contracts with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of law enforcement agencies if they're doing the wrong thing. To get more specific about Flock is they've actually, because of some community concerns, have been tightening down the controls and giving a lot more control to the individual agencies on who can see what information, what we can share with, and the parameters. And we have a policy that we haven't adopted yet, but because we're kind of working through community concerns that we keep working at, and we don't need to have the policy adopted yet because we don't have cameras yet. I'm trying to address several of the community concerns that have come up. Specifically, one of the big questions has been ICE. Well, the thing is Flock's like, okay, because I met with some Flock representatives last week because I wanted to hear some answers to some of my questions. They said, yeah, we recognize this is now a national question. And so they have now put 4 different steps that we have to say, yes, I want to give this information to that entity. Yes, I want to give that information. So 4 different steps where you have to specifically do that, just for that to do that, or just for us to provide information to a federal entity. It kind of sealed off federal from local and state. And then we have some parameters ourselves. We can say who we share with, who we don't share with. Our current kind of sample policy that we're building right now says that we will only share information with police agencies, local and state law enforcement agencies in the states of Washington, Oregon, and California, because they have similar laws to ours. But we have other things that we put in our policy that you can't have a buddy police officer say, hey, will you check this Flock plate for me? We have to know what's the reason for it, what's the case number, so we're not just arbitrarily, much like we can't just jump on any of our other systems and arbitrarily check and, run, who's my daughter dating, kind of thing, so.
Might have talk about that later, but.
So, we have a lot of parameters there that we are establishing, and we're still kind of feeling our way through that. But Flock also recognizes that. I want to point out a couple other things too. Flock has actually been within our county for years now. It's just now gaining some notoriety because the city of Eugene and the city of Springfield are using it, and we would like to use it. There are other communities in our county, the small communities, who actually are wanting to do this very thing, to have a little bit more information with their councils, just to see if it's the right thing for their communities. I'm just going to share one story. I've worked for the sheriff's office for 30 years. A big chunk of that, right after I was the Crestwell deputy, when there were 2 of us, was to be a detective for a long time. And one of the cases that I specifically worked was a child abduction, where a little girl in unincorporated Lane County out in the River Road area of Eugene got rammed off her bicycle by a car that 30 different people saw. So we had a license plate. Got abducted and kidnapped, where she was sexually assaulted, and by the grace of God, somehow a deputy happened to locate this vehicle. By the way, this vehicle was on its way out into the woods to kill and dump this child. This is why I want Flock, is that if we had Flock and if we had it in strategic locations, maybe we wouldn't be depending on divine intervention, and we could at least directed our staff to the area to find that kid. That's why I'm here. I love this community, and as a Crestwell kid, who I'm proud to be a Crestwell kid, I want to have everything at our disposal we can to protect kids, citizens, and our community members. I think Alex already talked about it, that there are other really useful things that we can use, and that is if we have one of our family members who is elderly and demented, We know that they oftentimes just drive off, and at least that way we have a direction of travel. So there's a lot of really good uses. Am I gonna say that there's not an opportunity for somebody to use this wrongly? No, but it's the reason why I pointed out that we already have all these other systems that we have contracts with. It's up to us as administrators to try to put screw down the policy and make sure that it's followed as best as possible, but anybody potentially could do a bad act. I will remind everybody that, about, 4 or 5 years ago, we had all the information about NSA listening in on all of our phone calls without warrants. I can't say that that won't happen, but I do know this is a really good tool for us to use to locate a vehicle if we need to. It's already been used. Cameras and Flock have already been used to solve murder cases that happen in the county, child abductions, and it's just
Bank robberies.
bank robbers.
I'll give you one.
Yeah, it's just a tool, and as you can see, this isn't gonna solve cases, but it's a really good tool to help us get to places where we need to be, in conjunction with all the really good police work and the other tools available to us. And then you guys know, the percentage of deputies on the roadway in this county is atrocious. We're way under-resourced, so I'm all about trying to find innovative ways at a reasonable cost, and it is in this case, for us to find more tools to kind of do that force multiplier, and that's why I'm here. I'm with you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not a big government guy. I've had my concerns about, intrusion, but in this case, I noticed that all of you have cell phones on your phone.
Alexa's listening.
Yeah, and I guarantee you that you're providing a heck of a lot more information, which is for sale mostly if you've downloaded any free apps, which is for sale to for people to bother you. My phone gets the spam phone calls all day long. Then the amount of information is going to be provided here. The Ninth Circuit Court, so the circuit that we live in, has already said that this is completely legal because they can only be in areas, premises open to the public where you or I could go sit there all day long and take pictures of license plates. So I share of the concerns, but I am here to represent the whole community, and I think this has a greater good than it has a risk. So I'd be happy to answer any more questions.
Is it?
With regard to the ownership of the data, so Lane County owns it, but is there anything in the licensing agreements or any other agreements with Flock that would still, although you own it, give them some type of access through their proprietary oversight?
DJ, maybe you're the better answer for that.
I don't know how we would know for sure, especially if they.
Our contract basically says we own the info, so.
Like if another agency wants to see automatically be able to search our cameras,
Well-
we have to say yes.
Sure, well, Lane County owns it, so what is that ownership? What's the context of that ownership?
decision
It's
on
on
who-
your servers, it's on your...
It's on their servers, they have and it's in the cloud.
It's their servers, the same as Azure or other government cloud servers.
And then is there any licensing agreement or any other agreements that although Lane County's owning it, it's still, because they're proprietary, they still will have access to it without Lane County knowing? In the license?
I know that they have access to our information because they have to for the customer service aspect of it or the servicing the product. So they have to have the same as, again, my CAD or my RMS or my JMS. They have to be able to jump on the server and the agreement we have on at least one of those contracts is that we have to say, yes, on this date, you're allowed to jump on the server and do it. So I don't know specifically because I don't want to be untruthful up here, but I know that in my conversations with Flock and my reading of the contract that we have signed is that, yeah, it's our information. They can't disseminate it without our permission, so.
I will add that our county council worked on the contract. It was a back and forth for quite a while, and it passed. We're pretty.
Yeah, if it gets through our county council and it's a contract,
Yeah, no,
it's probably, because they make everything difficult.
I think which is good, there's a distinction of ownership, but then typically with agreements and stuff, that ownership isn't just, we own it hands off from Lane County. Like, there's other layers to it, and I guess that's what I'm trying to.
Yeah, there
just
certainly
for
will
the
be.
public to know, yeah, we have ownership, but some of their concerns still may be there. So how does this council kind of field those questions appropriately? That it's owned by Lane County, but there's still that licensing, they're still able to get into the system. Does that negate the concern of the public a little bit or not? And that's a question for the public.
I think that then we need to look at their track record, because there have been a couple of articles that some are more truthful than others, to be frank. And let's look at their track record. The NAACP of Oakland, California, the chapter for Oakland, has actually endorsed this product because they think that it takes biases out and that it allows the officers to focus their little, they too are under-resourced, their little investigative resources to the areas that need to be. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children have endorsed this product, and Mothers Against Drunk Driving have endorsed this product. It's not a new product. So, I mean, I think we just generally have to look at the overall track record and say that by and large, this has been used how it's supposed to be. There's a new conversation that's really kicked up over the last year, obviously, with some of the ICE and other national issues. And that's why Flock, to me, has been a good partner, is because they're recognizing that and recognizing that, okay, we got to do more to start ensuring that at least Oregon laws or local information is more restricted and has the ability to meet the needs of the specific communities.
And that's a good point about Flock and how long they've been around. Do you know, or have they ever been charged or accused of mismanaging their data or inappropriately using their data?
There have been at least two things that I can think of that I have read about. One is that it was allowed to be misused, but that was honestly operator error, where it would be my responsibility as the manager to discipline somebody for the use that it was done. And then another article I read indicated that a federal government agency, one of the alphabet soups, had gone in the back end and accessed their data. A little bit of me says, that's why I bring out the fact that I have several products that are private vendors. I'm not a computer programmer, so I certainly can't stop it, but we have to know or recognize a risk that I suppose that could happen in all of my databases. So does that mean that we shouldn't use them, or does that mean that what I told somebody recently, or should we be contacting our legislators and trying to put a little bit more legal control on that to say, hey, federal government, you can't do X, Y, or Z. So that's kind of my take on that is I can't guarantee that somebody won't back into that. I mean, frankly, we have had counties and cities hacked into by high school kids, and there's a lot of stuff to try to prevent that too. So there is no assurance that anything can't be unused or used in an improper way, but I think you have to look at the risk factor on that and assess that whether or not this is something that's good for us in our community. I didn't mention it, but one of the things that I think is also important is we didn't just do a all-in on this. We have an agreement to have a limited number of cameras. I'm calling it a 2-year trial period, and ultimately, I have to be very responsible for my budget, and so when we implement this program, we're gonna check and make sure that the juice is worth the squeeze, and if it's not, then we'll sunset this and call it good. But it's not something that we're just saying I'm all in on. I'm saying that I think this has a really good ability to help us have an investigative tool. I mean, frankly, this community that we love, we are sitting on the I-5 corridor. Anybody could jump off, especially now we got McDonald's, see the golden arches and jump off and decide this is a really good place for a stop. And just recently, Flock helped the Eugene Police capture a murder suspect from Florida. So, I mean, these are the kind of people that I'd like to see kind of, not in our community. So that's yet another reason why I'm in support of this. So.
I think with the DMV breaches over the years, my identity has been stolen from them multiple times, but I also know that they sell it. So I know that's not what you guys are doing, but I know that's another concern that I've heard. Counselors, does anybody else have anything they'd like to ask?
Go ahead, Councilman
Oh,
Kramer.
so I have a question about security with both those. Who's responsible for the security of the cameras and the administrative part too? So somebody doesn't hack into it and.
I count on the flock nerds to do that side of things. The security of the cameras themselves is, well, ultimately, they're not gonna have security. They're gonna be in public locations, right? So, I don't know, DJ, if they're damaged and need to be replaced, is that on us or?
Didn't they damage some in Springfield after the last city?
Yeah, I mean,
Council
we're
meeting?
Flock, obviously Flock wants to have us using their product. I think they would probably help us out with maybe 1 or 2 times, but if it's a problem, quite frankly, that's why I'm not putting them on their little short Flock poles. We're gonna put them up on utilities up high to just make it a little harder.
Okay.
There haven't been any, of all the ones you damaged in Eugene and Springfield, they've been on those short Flock poles, not on
Easy to get.
That actually,
existing infrastructure.
that gets back to the question you asked earlier. The reason why Eugene doesn't want to release the locations of all these is because they don't want them to go get damaged, so.
Exactly.
Hey, you don't want to tell anybody about that.
So the question I have, I mean, I don't know if you've answered this or not, but I know that most of the public is wanting this because of the Big Brother thing. So is this thing just going to be automated? So like say someone has no insurance on their car or something like that, it's just going to pick them up automatically? I know that's probably most of the people's concerns about this stuff.
So
And-
to answer that question, that's going to be set for us. I don't think that there is a profile for insurance on there anyways. So we can actually set our programming so that our deputies have restrictions on what they can search for, what they can enter as, hey, other police officers, this is something that we care about. DJ, you're more versed in what all
Well,
that.
it doesn't have the ability to set a search like, hey, give me every plate that passes this that doesn't have insurance. Insurance is not tied into it. It's just pictures of plates.
Right.
So
What about warrants or something like that?
we can, if there is an NCIC, if there is a vehicle that matches a warrant. So, for example, if I know you're the murder suspect, Mr. Mayor, and I know you're driving, whatever, with the plate, we can do an NCIC entry, which we can already do. I mean, that already happens. It just doesn't have any cameras that go off with it. And say, this vehicle is associated with this guy who's a murder suspect. We can set our system so that if that hits on our camera system, that it gives us an alert. Go ahead.
Yeah, which is great. So the Crestwell deputy then can be alerted when a stolen vehicle exits the freeway into Crestwell. That's the same stolen vehicle. It's gonna do burglaries and thefts and go steal another car. And
So
that's
it
the
pretty much sounds like
investigation.
that this is all part of, if you have a case, and
Yes.
that's the
They've
only way
already
it's gonna be
committed a crime.
used.
Yeah, well, and it doesn't, I want to go backwards, that's primarily how it's going to be used. But there's the other part that I think is pretty important is the missing and endangered people aspect of it.
Yeah,
which is-
most definitely, yes.
Because I will tell you, this is kind of one of the things I really love about it, and probably as a county guy, for the sheriff's office, that I think is important, is how many folks have driven off in the woods and then we find them, not alive anymore. But we never know which direction they were going, and at least that gives us some breadcrumbs to go search in the appropriate direction versus just 4,700 square miles, so.
Something that I want to add too is when we're searching, it's hard for me to show you right now because I don't have a vehicle in mind. But when we're searching, sometimes it's going to tell us the wrong make, right? So if I type in, I'm looking for Ford trucks, it might show up, there might be a Toyota truck that shows up. It's not accurate specific to that vehicle. It doesn't cross-check to make sure like that license plate matches this vehicle or anything like that. It's based on what it recognizes. So something like that where you're talking about, finding insurance violations or, suspended drivers or anything like that. It's not even capable of doing anything like that. It can't even match the plate to the vehicle, so.
Yeah, one thing I want to add about that too, we specifically to our policy, is that you can't just take a hit, the murder suspect hit, that by itself is not a reason to stop a vehicle. We then need to be like, oh, what was that? And then do some of our own police work associated with it and say, hey, dispatch, I have this plate.
Got some probable cause.
Yes, yeah, it's, again, I want to go backwards. This is just a really good tool to kind of help us, but it doesn't take away any of the other standard police work activities that need to occur. The other thing too, that I think a lot of people are kind of confused about is these are photographs. These aren't videos. There's not going to be one of my deputies, because I don't have enough of them anyways, sitting somewhere watching a computer monitor, looking at the video and like, ooh, that's suspicious. Let's go check that out. So it's really just pictures that we can search against. So.
Right. I think that'll help some of the community.
Yep.
Yes, first of all, thank you, Sheriff, for coming down here and speaking with us. You touched on it a little bit, you said that these cameras have been around for years, and that was something that I was curious about, because it seems like I've been seeing them for years. But I was wondering, are these different from the ones I've been seeing for, 7 years now or something? And now, why all of a sudden now that's a big problem?
Honestly, I think this is more of a political conversation in a state of where we're at right now, of some pretty political divisive people in our country, but both directions. And so it's just captured a new attention, and it just happens to be that we and law enforcement in this area happen to be getting kind of on this train, so to speak. I think that's why. I will tell you that there's at least one police department in our county that's been using these for at least 4 years.
You're talking about Eugene?
No.
No? So,
Like your repo folks use this, they drive through parking lots, their trucks are pointed to catch the plates in parking lots. Parking enforcement, like probably go to the university, that's how they figure out your car's been sitting there too long.
Frankly, this technology is out there in a lot of private locations for private businesses. Like, I'm using an example, I'm not saying Home Depot, but Home Depot has this technology available to them that they can buy so that they can say, this vehicle is always associated with our thefts. And so this technology is out there. It's a matter of, do you want it only in the private hands, or do you want it, and they can choose to share their information with us or not. So it looked like that one Alex was showing earlier to me actually looked like it was probably a parking lot, so I feel like that was probably one of the private block cameras, so.
all right, so just one more question. Well, first, I think they're not a great tool. They're an amazing tool, and I welcome them. I hope to one day see them here in Cresswell, and that you guys get to take full advantage of them for the citizens of Cresswell. But is there going to be a cost to the citizens of Cresswell?
No, you can thank the drug dealers that we have busted, because they are funding this program for us. 100% of the funding for this has been through drug forfeitures. Honestly, I don't have the extra money in my budget, if it wasn't for that, to do it either. But this is a tool that I can now bring to the communities out there because of the people who had illicit gains, and we're going to go ahead and use that for community safety. So
Awesome, more of a reason to use them.
I have one concern, just talking with other intelligent people, of the concern, which you can speak to, but it's gonna be tough, is that Flock is put up everywhere, and all of a sudden they're worth $500 million, and BlackRock buys them out, and we all know not to trust BlackRock, and then they have all of our information because it was Flock's, and now, Flock has the servers, which are yours, but now that changed hands and comes back to some of the licensing agreement that Vincent was speaking about. I mean, what happens then?
I don't know, but I can tell you that there are. Oh, DJ.
Go ahead.
I was saying Flock is not the only game in town when it comes to LPR. Axon, which is they started off as our tasers, and now they do cameras, and now they do CADs, and now they do. In fact, tasers is their lesser product, right? Axon is trying to be Motorola in all ways. So My experience is that these companies are buying each other out who are competitors. So Axon has bought up a bunch of different companies, and I think Flock has done a little bit of that themselves. So ultimately, the long game is I don't know, but I do know what.
It's a hard question to ask, but I gotta put it out there, because
Yeah.
it is one that I thought, no, I mean, everybody's getting bought out anymore. I mean, all the small mom and pops are getting bought out to get rid of them, so for the big box stores, and I struggle with that on a daily basis. And I think for this, I mean, the potential is if you get past this and everybody starts welcoming these in, you have all these crime rates that you're solving 90% of cases just with the help of Flock. I mean, they're gonna get, their stock's gonna rise, and somebody's gonna wanna take them over, and that's when I get concerned of where does the information go after that.
I would not be surprised in the slightest if they're bought out. I think they're likely going to be bought out by something like Axon, though, that is already in the game
Okay.
to eliminate the competition. But DJ was having.
Yeah, I just was saying, at the end of the day, they have a whole bunch of pictures of vehicle plates and locations and times.
By the way,
What does,
our data gets deleted every 30 days too. So
Yes, I think you commented, I might as well throw this away if we're gonna be concerned about data. I mean, they've already got me. I mean,
Well, and I agree that Alexa's always listening, but like you said with the ICE stuff, that concerns me that there's people tracking down ICE agents and threatening their families and their homes. And a license plate's a good way to start, which is publicly, can be pictured, and then you can get on, public stuff.
I agree with you, Mr. Mayor.
I'm
but-
playing devil's advocate, because I do agree, I think it's a pretty rad tool, and I got a whole lot of sheriffs that I like that are texting me and calling me and talking to me and letting me know how they feel, and I think it's a good tool, but for me, it's whatever Cresswell wants, and the majority of Cresswell will decide.
I don't disagree with you. That's why I'm here, because I at least want people to make an educated
Yeah.
decision. And the part that I want to go back to is, sure, there's a potential of an inherent risk in any one of the things that we use, any of the tools we use, and to include all the software we have. I think it's a little bit intellectually dishonest when we have, I'm not saying the city of Crestwell, but when we have cities talking about how bad Flock is, yet they have automated citation things up where it captures all the same information. In fact, it creates more information because it's then going to go into the RMS, the records management system, and I have to go to Albany with my daughter on Thursday to help her figure out her citation because her cute little face is right there on the picture. So there's already this information being collected. So I think we should have this conversation from a real perspective of honesty, because there is so much of this information already being collected. Why do we want to prohibit our law enforcement officers from using part of it for legitimate purposes?
We don't. Does anybody else got any? Bill, come on. I know you got something. You came all this way. You rode all this way.
Does it pick up, well, it doesn't pick up faces.
It can, but it doesn't have the
facial recognition.
the facial recognition
So
software.
is there ever been a search for somebody on a bicycle?
Yeah, your bike's fine.
Yeah.
You don't have a license plate on it.
I've got a license plate.
Apparently Alex is the better answer to this question.
So I can actually answer that. So when we received the training for this, the base training from experienced Flock user from another agency came in and said, this is how you use the program. You can, but there has to be a vehicle. So for example, if I think that Bill rode his bicycle down the street, at this time, I can search that Flock camera and hope that it picked up a vehicle, which then would show Bill next to the vehicle.
Okay.
plate,
So-
the plate.
Because it's looking for the
Only the
plate,
plate.
it's not, the plate or a vehicle, it's not looking for a bicycle, it's
So
not.
does it distinguish a vehicle by having a plate? What if the vehicle has no plate?
It will still pick up that vehicle,
Okay.
take a photo, and there's actually a way to search, I can actually show you that.
So someone could steal a vehicle, ditch the plate, and you could still use the tool?
So there
You
is.
still use like color, make, model, right? Like to
Right.
like
Then you're gonna have
filter
to
it
do
out.
Mhm.
dig through the photos and try to
Look
find the right
through
ones.
tons
A lot of
of,
police work goes into that scenario.
there is a button
I'm
for
searching that up.
no
I mean, it's like
license
our
plate.
Trucks,
I think it's.
they have outward video and cameras,
Yeah.
so we can actually sit on our desk and we can watch our driver driving down the road.
Yeah.
Maybe it's advanced. So, plate type,
You better hope not. No, they.
I can search
Oh.
We
all
just need
plates,
The windshield out.
regular plates, temporary plates, covered plates, or no plates.
One of the tools I think also that's kind of important, and I don't know if Alex shared this with you last time he met with you, is our eyewitness testimony is always usually a little bit hard to put 100% faith into. But oftentimes they'll say, oh, I know the first two numbers of the plate. That is something that you can add to the search of black pickup starts with 1, 2. Again, that's not solving anything, but it gives us maybe some breadcrumbs to follow the path to try to develop more information. And again, I'm gonna go way back. This is not gonna solve any crimes. That's what these guys get paid for. But it's a tool that can help them maybe get a lot more information quicker. For a very specific set of facts or information.
And I can tell you guys about a Cresswell case that happened in the last 2 months where we had a vehicle description. It was an out-of-state plate. We had a partial number. Nobody knew what state it was. It was a distinct enough vehicle that we were able to catch it on one of Eugene's cameras when they were active. And then we were able to determine who the suspect was, who has no ties to our area. And this was an assault case that happened here in Cresswell. And we haven't caught the guy yet, but we know who he is. And at some point, we'll catch up to him. It's just a matter of,
So can we assume this works the same like Bill's saying on bicycles, but on street bikes that do or don't have plates?
yes, and I believe,
Harleys, crotch rockets, whatever?
so I have never tried to specifically search for a motorcycle, but I believe that is in here in our, so you can even search bicycle, it looks like.
You're in trouble. You're in trouble.
I didn't know that because it's not something I've ever had to look at. But yes, I can search for motorcycles. It'll catch that as well. The one thing it won't do is, a lot of times where you have like, I'm sure you guys have seen motorcycles where they have the plate sideways and stuff.
Yeah.
It does not read that very well at all.
Okay.
That was taught during our tutorial.
Hard to do, okay. Anyone else? Ronnie?
So you already mentioned that there's a lot of existing surveillance technology out there. So my question is, does Flock have the ability to integrate with these other systems, such as facial recognition?
Well, I know that Flock, DJ, do you have
They offer products of wider range, like the shot spotter, the sensors that detect gunshots. There's a bank in Eugene that thought that'd be a good idea, and they installed that Flock system. So they have a variety of different, they have a lot of, I think they have a system for computer, or dispatch systems for police, law enforcement. They have cameras that are designed to go up and pan, tilt, zoom, watch like a park, that kind of thing. We haven't asked for any of those, but.
Okay. So my concern is, how much of our civil liberties are we willing to sacrifice for the sake of safety? And I think that is an important question that we have to ask ourselves as a community.
I agree with you, but I want to point out that as much as I don't love the idea of being surveilled, none of these cameras can go in any place that you have an expectation of privacy in. It can only be in a place that any one of us at any point in time could go and take pictures of all day long, and it would not be unlawful. The Ninth Circuit, which we know is one of the more liberal circuits, have ruled on this and said there is no constitutional violations. So, yes, the uneasy big brother aspect, I'm with you. But it is not a violation of civil rights. So.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so devil's advocate. My iPhone knows that every Wednesday night I go to have dinner with my relatives in Eugene. Probably knows about what time. So if my iPhone wanted to share information with Flock cameras, it could probably pick me up driving to Eugene. So you're right in that sometimes you worry more about the technology sharing rather than the human sharing the information.
Yeah. I share all the same concerns, I really do. I'm just doing the as a leader in this community, let's weigh the risk benefit reward category. And currently, I feel like there's at least enough in one bucket to try this out and see if this is something that is good for
One
our
kid's life's worth it all.
I agree. Well, we've talked pedophiles, we've talked bank robbers, I mean, we've talked murder suspects already, and we've only been talking about this for about 2 weeks, so. I mean, as a whole, I'm sure we've all discussed it before, but when we finally sat down in Crestwell and talked about it, it's been 2 weeks, and there's a murder suspect, there's a pedophile, there's a bank robber. Pretty good statistics for you already. Bill?
One final question. Let's say you put the flock cameras online in Crestwell.
I'm sorry, I don't hear.
I'm sorry, let's say you put the flock cameras online in Crestwell, okay? Next year, the city council says, you know what, we thought about it, we want to discontinue them. Is that possible? I mean, can the contract be canceled at any time?
Well, the contract's not with, I'm sorry, DJ, go ahead.
We've contracted for 22 cameras. There's places actually asking us to put more in their area. So we'll have no problem with the 4,200 square miles finding some high trafficked byways to get general directions of travel, like heading out 58, heading down 99. That'll be, the hard part is figuring out where we're gonna put them, because there's so many great locations to put them, and we only have 22. So it would be, maybe we have to pay a little bit to have them move them. I think Flock already told me they would move a small amount of campers just as a partnership if need be.
Well, you have my commitment to this, to kind of
Well,
answer your
I
question.
just-
If the city said, we want to try this, and then next year the city said, hey, Sheriff, we want them out of our city, you'd have my commitment that I would honor that.
Well, I think it makes it easier on the city council if they can tell everybody, hey, listen, if we decide we don't like it, they're gone. It's not like we're stuck with them.
Well, and again, I don't know that this is going to be a long-term thing for us, right?
Yeah.
It seems, honestly, it seems like a pretty good thing. I didn't know a heck of a lot about Flock before about 6 months ago, I can tell you that much, and I've done a lot of research since then, so.
I think most of us have tried, but again, where are you getting information from? You're either uninformed or you're disinformed, and so it's hard to read between.
Well, and there's just, honestly, there's, just like the rest of our media sources, there's stuff that's a little bit true.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's why I came here though. Again, you're the first city I've talked to, because frankly, I love the city. This is my home, and I want you to ask the questions you want to ask and get it straight from me, so.
Well, I'm thankful you came out. Does anybody else? Mark?
So just a couple things, like just to reiterate, so I know like with people, it's out of fear, okay? And then they bring something like this, you're giving up, some of your constitution or any of your rights. They look at something like the NSA, oh, we just bombed this place. Oh, let's survey every phone now. People don't want that.
Yeah.
Of course, at that time,
I agree
they're
with
like, I'm sure, sign me up for that.
I agree with you.
But now, we're talking about putting in cameras. It is good to know that if we can pull out, if the residents don't want it, there is that opportunity. But we definitely want to protect all of our residents, and I'm on board with having them like on the outskirts coming in, because other than that, if you could get these criminals coming in off of 99 or going out 99 or off of the I-5 corridor, it's great to have those starting points and let the actual sheriff in town take over, and, he'll find that whatever's in town right there, he can do his own general search. But we need to know, I-5 is just the traffic right there. You're gonna get drug dealers, McDonald's, everything comes in and out of that, and kids come missing off of that.
Yeah, one of the things that I talked about the other day though, that I think is also important is, unlike the city of Springfield, who has their own police department, or the city of Eugene, who has their own police department, or the sheriff's office, which is responsible for all unincorporated Lane County and this beautiful city, we have our jurisdictions. Criminals don't. Criminals don't have jurisdictions, and so they don't care if they're from Portland coming down to our city and doing crime. They don't care if they're, you know, victimizing multiple jurisdictions at once. This is one of those force multipliers that help us at least put the breadcrumbs together to develop a.
Does I-5 have flock on them?
So there are 600, I know DJ wants to say something, I'm sorry. There are 600 state troopers, and they don't have flock, but they have LPR in their cars, which is license plate readers. So.
Yeah, you know, flock would probably seem a lot better than, you know, especially with having Amber Alerts, you know, is having a flock system, because that's the easy way of getting in and out of state, you know, but.
I don't know if you guys recall the child abduction, double murder suspect that happened in last summer, the guy that killed the 2 women in Washington, and then we ended up having him here in our community, just north of Eugene in Coburg. The reason why we knew he was coming this direction is because of a camera alert, so. DJ, you were gonna say something.
Just like the logistics of getting that freeway traffic. That's why the exit ramp onto Oregon, that's easy to set a camera up on.
Yeah.
Putting it up on the freeway is much more difficult. You need more cameras because it only captures 1 lane, and there's just a lot more to it. That's like the biggest bang for the buck. If Creswell is interested, is getting at that I-5 coming and going traffic, and of course 99, and that's what we focus on.
Which is just a reminder to last meeting, you know, I brought up, that is what Alex and I and Vincent had discussed originally of, you know, starting at something like that before we, you know, we brought it to the citizens and discussed it was, you know, 99 in and out, and I-5's kind of ODOT anyway, so we really, it's kind of out of city limits because we don't really control that. Technically, that's more ODOT. But that would be the entrances and exits that would help, you know, that's kind of what our original agreement is. But I think from here, we need to figure out the best way to get the public's opinion. Because right now, I have a lot of no's, and I do have some yeses, but I do have a lot more no's that are in one ear and a few yeses in the other. I would like to get a lot more information, because if Creswell wants it, I'm all for it. I agree it's a good tool, and I want you guys to have every advantage you can to save it. Like you said, 1 child is good enough for me to give up some access. But I love your point, and I'd like to reiterate your point in case anybody didn't hear it. It's only going in public places where you can already take pictures of whomever you want, whenever you want. That is a very good point that we have not really brought up or has not been discussed in the paper or the news. It's being put in a position where anyone can film at any time, regardless whether you like it or not. People say, don't film me. Well, you're in a park. I can film you all I want.
I will tell you, just funny and ironic, some of the groups that have been very vocal about opposing this are the same people that think that it's totally appropriate to follow my staff around and film them all day. So it's...
Those are the special kind that we have to fix. Vincent, go ahead.
With all the DOT cameras, why wouldn't this be able to go in with that?
I don't know the answer to that.
Because it's, I shouldn't say that.
I mean, I've used, as a truck driver, I use it a lot.
That would make sense. I'll say it for you. That would make sense, fiscal sense. I mean.
I don't know the answer to that. I know that ODOT has not been the easiest partner so far.
I get it.
I've been the one trying to find the locations, and right now in Lane County, ODOT won't let us.
Yeah, well,
But
yeah,
they will
I got the
on
ODOT app
Medford.
right here, I know where all the cameras are.
So Vincent, what would you suggest would be the best way to try and reach out? Should we reach out on a city Facebook page? I mean, how do we workshop how to get this out there so we can get some real feedback from not just emailing each counselor, myself, whomever, but really get a good collection of feedback so we can get figured out, either yay or nay, so we can all move on.
We can do a social campaign effort. I think you're probably, one way or the other, just gonna get one side of the reaction. I don't think there'll be a dialogue there, and I think that's what the council, in my mind, is setting up, is a dialogue. So it coming back to call the question in a public hearing of, and maybe it's the agreement, maybe Crestwell and Lane County are looking to enter into a pilot program to install flock cameras within or without city limits, and we want to somehow get the public to respond to that. Because I'm surprised as you that there's not as much public here.
We had more at
given what
Second
we-
Street project than we did with
Yes.
this. I really told my wife, it could be a few hours, babe.
So, let me explore that route of, because we have to call, for the public hearing, it has to be a call of a question. And that's, it might be the agreement piece that works.
About a town hall meeting.
It could be a town hall meeting, but it would need to be a special, because all of you would show up, so it would need to be, we would still need to notice it as a special public hearing.
Yeah, I mean, tonight, I'm sorry, like, there should have, I expected a lot of people to.
Yeah, I did
You know,
too.
because
Not like
it would have been
we
nice
didn't
to have
tell
some more
anyone.
engagement to be able
Either we're
to.
well trusted or they didn't know.
So, yeah, it would be
Yeah.
nice to have concerns to be brought up. You know, we talk about our community, our city, and we want what's best for it.
I
But
can
we want
work
the
with-
answers what are making it uneasy.
I can work with Alex and strategize to see how, maybe it's a town hall meeting, a special meeting, put it out on social media, and it would still be run as a public meeting, though. Not necessarily a hearing, but you would allow the
We're
public.
just kind of letting them talk, get their minute or two or three, and
Yeah.
then just move on, and we're just gonna sit there and yes and no's, and that's all we really need, a yes or no.
Yeah, because I think this is a good movement forward. I still think the missing piece is the hearing from a larger section of the community, one way or the other. Correct. Without that, I think the council can't gauge what that reaction's going to be, and I think that's an important piece.
I also think, like, I don't know about the rest of the council, but my thoughts of this is, you know, it's not coming into the city. It's getting everything, the cameras are on the outskirts, trying to bring traffic, what's coming in, just to make sure we can identify what's coming in. You know, it's not gonna be put right in front of City Hall.
Well, I think there's-
Anything like that.
I think there's two questions at play, because Lane County can install it along I-5 without our permission. They can do that, and that's an option for them. I think what.
ODOT's not letting us.
Yeah,
What about 99? What about the off?
Oh, yeah, 99, I can do it, yeah.
And the off-ramp area, I think you can.
We could put them on any property that somebody agrees to allow us to do it on, obviously, so, because Lane County doesn't own that much property.
Yeah.
And so, if we could, well, frankly, if I had a private business in here, in the community right now that said, hey, put it on my building and it's got a great view, I could do that. I don't need your permission. I don't want to do it that way. I want to be open and honest and transparent about what we're doing, so.
So I think there's that piece, but then there's also, would the public feel comfortable them coming a little bit further into the city? That's I think what we're,
I mean, currently, we don't have enough cameras to do more.
Yeah, we've got 22 across the whole county. I'm really under a lot of pressure to hurry up and identify those. I've been dragging my feet big time to see if you guys want them or not. Otherwise, I'm gonna put them somewhere else, because I got people begging me for them, so.
maybe at this town hall or special meeting, it may be helpful to identify where those locations might be, to give, so we have 3 cameras. If Lane County says we would like them here, here, and here, that narrows down maybe some of the public dialogue and concern, because without the public knowing where they're going to put it, where they're going to go, it makes it difficult for us
I guess
to-
my only response to that is I would be totally comfortable saying generalities of areas, but.
Yeah, rather than
Yeah.
exact locations.
Yes, because.
Somewhere on 99, somewhere
Yeah, and I
north and
totally agree
south.
with that and get that, but I think if they know the general location, and then they know it's not in our neighborhood, or it's not on the, by the Grange, looking at, then I think that helps them process some of those concerns, and it might enrich that dialogue with the council a little bit.
Alex, have you had a chance to, since we've talked, have you had a chance to kind of think about, well, if we do move forward with it on 99 and I-5, I mean, have you picked out any spots since
Well,
we
so
all talked?
the original spots that were discussed, we want to catch our main entrances, right? So the I-5 entrance, 99 entrance into the city. Like we had talked about before, you know, we could put them on 99 outside on the like the outskirts outside of city limits. It's not gonna catch the same volume as what we would want in terms of trying to, you know, be able to recognize vehicles that are involved in things and the different avenues they may take. We wanna try to pick areas that are gonna have, you know, the majority of our traffic coming and going.
Can I respond to that as well?
Sure, yeah.
I've said before, this is a trial project, so I think we are not gonna place cameras where they don't get the biggest bang for their buck. So I can put one at the dead end of First and catch about 50 cars a day, and that's not gonna help us. So like we really there's enough locations throughout the county, and I agree with what DJ said, but I didn't want it to come off the wrong way. We have a lot of locations besides here that we can put them in ideal locations, and that's really what it is. I think there's some ideal locations here. I don't want to try to just put up cameras here if they're not going to be the right spot to help provide information to the deputies to protect this community. So,
Fair enough.
there's lots of ways in and out of this community, unfortunately. I know it's primarily east, west, north, south, but there's, beauty. It's not, yeah, so.
But that would also be information that Sergeant will be able to give, like, hey, he sees a lot of traffic or a lot of people wrongdoing and using this, this exit or.
Right, and I can honestly tell you, it comes down to the main areas we want to catch are going to be I-5, 99.
Yeah.
And then you have some, I guess, secondary areas that if we had unlimited cameras, we'd want to put them on.
That would be great.
We're not wanting to put these like in neighborhoods or something, because that's not going to catch the activity that we're looking for anyway.
So if we pulled off I'll get to Bill. So if we pulled off the constraint of it's 99s in and out and I-5, maybe not quite at city limits, but still outer 99, is that something that would still work? Not as far out?
He's kind of our PM on this whole thing, so.
I've spent way too much time looking at power poles and all this stuff. Yeah. Super interested in East Oregon. Basically, if you imagine yourself traveling to Cresswell, getting taking the off ramp, and then you're gonna hit East Oregon, right?
Yep.
So one camera only gets one direction, so probably two in that general vicinity of East Oregon and I-5.
Okay.
Your street light poles look really good. They've already tapped for power. That's super easy. That's the kind of thinking.
Okay.
If ultimately we had like in those cameras, I'd love to have, again, not in the city initially or at all, but I'd love to have every access point to the city. But
Bill?
How many cameras is Cresswell potentially, because like you identified, there's two entrances and exits on I-5. And, so does it take 4 cameras just to do I-5?
What we're interested in is who comes into Cresswell from I-5. So,
But you'd come in from, okay.
so
So
if I
you
get
don't
one
care
point
about
each
going
way
out
on
of Cresswell,
Oregon, that'd be
you're-
good enough for a trial basis.
You're more
We're not gonna get everything.
More interested in coming in, not going out.
Yeah, because, and the thought process is as we might not, so at least we know it headed north on I-5, well, we don't have deputies working I-5, we have deputies working in Cresswell. That's what we're interested in. If we have that car, that stolen vehicle that comes from Eugene, goes into Cresswell, does a bunch of crimes, that information, that plate, hey, this stolen vehicle was in Cresswell, does it line up with some other stuff the deputy discovered investigating whatever crime they were investigating?
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yep.
To kind of add to that a little bit, we talked 2 weeks ago, I mentioned the Cresswell bank robbery, right? And we were able to use Flock to track them down, but we also used business security cameras and stuff. It gives us a starting point.
Yeah.
And so I can say, okay, went that direction, maybe I can catch it on a business security camera or somebody's Ring doorbell or something that's in that direction.
yeah, Alex actually brings a really good point. Our detectives on almost every case now, or every major case now, are going door to door asking for surveillance that we are doing ourselves already. So this just enhances that. We're not gonna stop doing that. Now, as a private citizen, you can say, I'm not giving you nothing, and that's fine. But we get a lot of good information already just based on how we surveil ourselves. I mean, how many ring cameras are out there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically can't go into a business without being on full video the entire time you're in there, other than when you go in the restroom.
Yep.
And hopefully not there.
Hopefully.
Okay.
There have been some cases.
Has anybody else got any other questions? I think, Vincent, you and I and Alex probably need to work on a path forward on how to create some more engagement. But other than that, do you guys have an ETA that, you say you got other people looking, wanting these cameras, and you've been dragging your feet for us? I mean, what's a viable timeline where we might still be able to make a decision and still get them, or?
We aren't gonna have them all up in such a period of time that you need to be over concerned about the timeline. It's just that
We need to continue the discussion.
I'd like to, yeah, it'd be best if I knew which direction to go, because frankly, Lola is saying, hey, what can you do for us? So there's other communities. And we are responsible for their patrol area, but the city actually pays for enhanced patrolling here, so.
Yeah.
And Veneta's the other, of all the 22 cameras, the heaviest concentration would be Veneta and Crestwell, because you guys want 24-hour coverage. We
Yeah.
can't provide it. The cameras seem like a great tool to
Yeah.
enhance service.
Okay.
I love that thought. That was kind of what I was thinking. It's almost like getting 24-hour policing with if we had those cameras, just that little extra layer of surveillance that could possibly be utilized.
I know the mayor's trying to wrap this up, so this will be the last thing I say.
You're well over your 30.
Yeah.
I wasn't gonna say anything.
Is, the one thing good about this, because, I mean, currently, if we know something bad's happening at Crestwell when we don't have a deputy on, we're gonna send our other deputies. But what this does do is just give us another tool to alert those other deputies when we don't have deputies on here at Crestwell, that, hey, come, they don't know the sheriff lives here, they wanna take care of things here, so.
Exactly. Well, look, I thank you guys for coming down. I appreciate it. I really did expect more, but I want to make sure that we try to ask as many questions as we could and go over 30 minutes so that somebody could review the tape and see some questions that we asked and brought up, and hopefully do their own homework. But congratulations on your win. I voted for you.
Actually, I haven't ran yet, it was an appointment.
Well,
You'll have that on.
you have my vote. So I do appreciate you coming in and get a little more hands-on, and I think there's a couple topics that you brought up that really hit home for me, hopefully for other people, that we can move forward either way, that we can move forward in the safest way possible and defend Crestwell is all we got.
Well, I appreciate all of you guys and letting me go well past my 30 minutes.
Yeah.
You all right?
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, and with that, we're going to adjourn.